ओम सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
उधर जिसको बैठना है बैठो।
Respected Colonel Uday Singh Udawat ji, respected Principal Dr. Basudev Bakshi, respected Major Kavita, respected Bhailal Patel, dear Dr. Amit Balani, other respected guests, dignitaries, professors, and dear NCC cadets who have joined online for this program on Love India. I'm extremely happy to be amidst you. I would have loved to be with you actually, but I think we will have to wait for some time till all are vaccinated. And I think it is taking up very quickly, and maybe after some time, we may be able to hold the seminars and programs actually, not only virtually. Anyway, something is better than nothing. So I'm very happy to meet you at least virtually. And I was very happy to know from Colonel Uday Singh Udawat that he has got a very good experience with the NCC cadets of Vallabh Vidyanagar. And I'm also very happy to meet once again Kavita, Madam, Major Kavita, after a long interval of 8 years. We met at Ahmedabad, but that time we actually met. Now we are virtually meeting. But anyway, it's a pleasure meeting you all. The topic that has been decided today for the discussion is Love India. I would like to take minimum time for my lecture and would like to reserve my time for interaction, because it is during interaction that we have tailor-made solutions. There are two types of clothes: ready-made garments and tailor-suited garments. Ready-made garments, sometimes, you know, it happens that they may not fit you properly. But tailor-suited garments, they will surely fit you, because they have been made they have been made for you only, as per the measurement taken by the tailor. So I would like to give you tailored solutions and not ready-made solutions. So I would like to first just begin the topic, and then would like to invite the questions and would be very happy to reply to the questions. All of you have already heard the name of Swami Vivekananda, who was a stalwart, not only a saint of the highest order, but a very, very unique type of saint, where it is very difficult to demarcate the line between a patriot and a prophet. So there is a book also, Patriot Prophet Swami Vivekananda. And that is a very justified title, because very difficult to demarcate between Patriot Vivekananda and the Prophet Vivekananda. He was a patriot prophet. He was a prophet, he was a saint, but a patriot saint. Very unique type of saint. Normally the saints are believed to be above the nation, the boundaries of nation and society and all that. He was the saint of the highest order. He had realized the oneness of the whole universe. So he was asked this question, that always you are telling India, India, India. You are a saint. For you, the whole universe should be yours. Swami Vivekananda said, of course. I belong as much to India, as much to America, as much to Japan, as much to any other country. I belong to the whole world. And that is our Indian spiritual culture. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet. Let all be happy. Let all be healthy. Let all attain goodness. Let none get misery, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. Of course, that is our Indian spiritual culture. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is our mantra, is our mandate. But I am always trying for the Indian upliftment for our nation. Why? Because each and every nation has certain contribution to make. India's contribution has been spiritual culture. And if the spiritual culture goes away from the world will have to face nothing but self-destruction in this atomic age. So in order that the world survives in the face of the nuclear weapons, the violence going on all around, amidst terrorism, amidst fanaticism, amidst all the other evil forces, if the world has to survive, it can only survive based on the spiritual culture of India. That has to spread. And these are not the words only of Swami Vivekananda. Arnold J. Toynbee, one of the greatest historians of our times, he says, the present chapter of the history had a Western beginning, but if the world has to survive from self-destruction in this atomic age, it must have an Indian end. And then he goes on to say, Mahatma Gandhi and Emperor Ashoka's principle of non-violence and Sri Ramakrishna's testimony as to the harmony of religions, these are the attitudes and the values which will save the whole world from self-destruction in this atomic age. And that is why we are talking about India's upliftment. Because if India survives, the world survives. If India doesn't survive, the world cannot survive. It is for that reason Swami Vivekananda said, I want that India should survive, not only for itself, but for the whole world. And when the India's spiritual culture survives along with India, then the world will have really the peace that is desired by all. So this is I would like to, at the outset, I would like to clarify that what Swami Vivekananda meant by patriotism was not hatred for other countries. He was always for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, like any other saint. But he was very, very clear on this point that the world cannot survive, the world benefit cannot come, the world welfare cannot come unless until India survives, Indian spiritual culture survives. That is one point. And second thing, Swami Vivekananda was asked this question, that why you are asking only for India and why are you always trying to bring up the patriotism and love for India and all that. That time also he replied, you see, if you cannot love your mother, how can you love the mothers of others? What a beautiful, rational explanation. First, you love your own mother. You don't know how to love your own mother, and you want to love others' mothers. If you cannot love your own country, how can you love other countries? First, develop love for your own country. But that love should not be exclusive. We always go for inclusiveness. We always go for the welfare of all, but first love for your motherland. So Swami Vivekananda was very clear on this point. And not only that he was clear for his Indian disciples. He had disciples in India and abroad. One of the American disciples was Miss MacLeod. Miss MacLeod met him in America. She came for attending one of the lectures. And she says later on, the first thing that I learned from was truth. The second sentence he spoke was also truth. The third sentence he spoke was truth. And whatever I learned from him was truth. And so it was difficult for me not to attend his lectures as long as he was there in New York. And then later on, wherever in America he went, Swami Vivekananda went, she followed him. Not only that, when Swami Vivekananda came to India, she came to India also. So she was a great friend or disciple of Swami Vivekananda. She was from an aristocratic family. So once she asked Swami Vivekananda, Swami, how can I serve you? Remember the question. I want to serve you. How can I serve you? Now, what was the reply of Swami Vivekananda? He did not say, you bring good clothes for me, or you give me money, or you give me donation for my Belum at my Ramakrishna mission. No. What did he ask? He said only two words. Love India. That's all. To Miss MacLeod, an American disciple, he says, love India. Another disciple, Sister Christine, she says, whenever Swami Vivekananda used to speak the word India, there was so much conveyed in that one word India. With that, he could convey the ancient culture of India, the great architecture of India, the great musical background of India, the whole glory of India. Everything was contained in one word. And what an amount of love that Swami Vivekananda conveyed to that one word India. Full of love. India, India, my India, my India, my India. This is what he used to repeat. And then Sister Christine sacrificed her whole life for implementing the ideas of Swami Vivekananda. She remained in India for many years. She sacrificed her whole life. Miss MacLeod later on worked so much for Ramakrishna Mission and for India. She was from an aristocratic family. She had contacts with the topmost people, and so she could, at many times, some decisions were needed to be changed, and she was able to do that because of her contacts at the topmost level. She really served India, as was desired by Swami Vivekananda. That is Miss Margaret Noble. Swami Vivekananda met her in England. And Miss Margaret Noble was so much enamored by his talks that later on she asked, what should I do? Then Swami Vivekananda gave very, very inspiring letter. You know, Letters of Swami Vivekananda. There is a book, Letters of Swami Vivekananda. Very, very inspiring letters. I do not know of any other person who has written so many inspiring letters. And one of the most inspiring letters that he ever wrote, he writes to Miss Noble, Miss Margaret Noble, who was a teacher in London. He said, sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice in the past has been the law. It will be, alas, for ages to come. The earth's best and bravest will have to sacrifice themselves for the good of humanity. The world is burning with misery. Let us call and call till the sleeping gods awake. Awake, awake, great ones, awake, awake. Are you ready to sacrifice? Then you come. Sacrifice. Here in India, we have women who are not yet educated. Swami Vivekananda was of the firm opinion that a nation cannot develop till the women are developed. And women development cannot take place without women education. And that time, hardly 1% of women were literate. So Swami Vivekananda wanted to open a school for the girls in Calcutta, which was the capital of British India at the time. And he gave a clarion call, and Miss MacLeod sacrificed her whole life. She came immediately to India, sacrificed her whole life for educating Indian women. Not only that, she worked hard for the independence of India. She, in fact, inspired Sri Aurobindo and other revolutionaries of that time for going for the independence of India. So Miss Margaret Noble also gave up and sacrificed her whole life at the call of Swami Vivekananda. So Swami Vivekananda, Miss Margaret Noble afterwards, Swami Vivekananda gave her Brahmacharya Diksha when she came to India and gave her the new name Nivedita. Just read the life of Sister Nivedita. What a life of sacrifice. What a life of dedication. Really dedicated one. Nivedita. And she sacrificed her whole life for India. And at the time of death, she was repeating the mantra, not of any god or goddess. The mantra was, Bharat Varsha, Bharat Varsha, Bharat Varsha, Bharat Varsha. Repeating this mantra, she died in Darjeeling. So Swami Vivekananda, he used to give this mantra, love India. What do you mean by love India? Love India means loving not only the geographical limits of India, not only the geographical land of India, of course, that is a part of it. But more than that is the people of India, particularly the downtrodden, the poor, the illiterate, the suffering people. To serve them is patriotism. One is, of course, patriotism is protecting the boundaries of our nation, geographical boundaries of our nation. Second is protecting our Indian culture, spiritual culture. Third is protecting our educational field. And then fourth is serving those who are underprivileged. Above all, loving the nation, loving India means doing our duties with full dedication, honestly, without any compromise. Now, I'm especially talking to the NCC cadets. So when it comes to NCC cadets, you are all students. Your first duty at present is to do your Swadharma. What is your Swadharma? Your Swadharma is to study. Study with full concentration, because that is the crux of the whole thing. With focusing, concentration, study with dedication, and at the same time, develop your personality. That is your Swadharma. That is the way you can serve the nation. Then again, when an officer, your duty changes. When you are a teacher, your duty changes. Trying to do the work that is of immediate concern to you with full dedication, that is loving India. That is a part of loving India. So sacrifice your life either way, either for protecting the boundaries of the nation or protecting the greatness of India. All this comes under love India. So love India is the real thing, and once that comes, everything else will come. Just imagine if an IAS officer, IPS officer, or any other government officer is loving India. What happens? A person who loves India will never go for any bribe or never go for any corruption. If a minister loves India, automatically there will be less of corruption. Automatically they will be honest. If supposing a teacher, if he or she is loving India, what happens? Automatically dedication will come. I am not teaching. I am preparing the enlightened citizens of future of India. What a great role I have to play. I'll sacrifice my life for preparing the enlightened citizens. Out of these students will come out enlightened citizens for the future India. What a great role I have to play. And that teacher then, the focus of that teacher will not be on the difficulties he or she is facing during the profession of teacher, but it will be always pivoted on how much I can sacrifice for the great glorious future of India, the golden future of India. So Swami Vivekananda wanted us to love India and thereby to dedicate our lives towards the upliftment of India in whatever capacity we are. That is loving India. And at that time, he gave that clear call. Just remember, all the patriots of our country, almost all the patriots of our country, all the revolutionaries of our country, most of them, they derived their inspiration from the books of Swami Vivekananda. There was a boy studying in 9th standard in Cuttack, in Orissa. He came across a book of Swami Vivekananda, and he was so much inspired by reading the book of Swami Vivekananda that he decided that he will sacrifice his whole life for the nation. And really he sacrificed his life for the nation. Later on, his name became Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Mahatma Gandhi, when he came to Belur, just now your principal was telling how he had visited our Belur by the side of the Ganges. That is our headquarters, Belur, near Calcutta, in the district of Howrah. So Gandhiji had gone there. That time it was the birthday of Swami Vivekananda according to Indian almanac, 6th February. And so he had gone there. He went to the shrine of Sri Ramakrishna. Then he went to the room where Swami Vivekananda stayed. That room has been preserved as it is at the time of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, if you now go to Belur, there's a beautiful temple. That time it was not there. But behind that big temple, there will be a two-storied building that you get, is still there, the old building. On the first floor is the room where Swami Vivekananda used to stay. And that room has been preserved as it was at the time of Swami Vivekananda. His table, his chair, his turban, his clothes, everything is there. And so Gandhiji, and in that room only on 4 July 1902, at the age of 39 years, he sat for meditation, and on the wings of meditation, he went for eternal journey. He passed away on 4 July 1902 in that very room. So Gandhiji saw that room, saw the clothes of Swamiji and all that. And then the people who had gathered there said, Gandhiji, please give a lecture. Gandhiji said, I have not come here to give a lecture. I have come here to pay my homage to the great memory of Swami Vivekananda, whose birthday is being celebrated today. But all the youngsters that are present here, I will tell you, when you come to this great place, do not go empty-handed. Do not go empty-hearted. Take some of the great inspiration in your heart from here and then go back. Then he said, please read the books of Swami Vivekananda. I have gone through the books of Swami Vivekananda, and after going through the books of Swami Vivekananda, the love that I had for my country became 1,000-fold. Mahatma Gandhi says, after reading the books of Swami Vivekananda, the love that I had for my country became 1,000-fold. You can try for yourself. Read the book of Swami Vivekananda. Many books are there. You can start with a small book, His Call to the Nation. A little bigger book, My India, the India Eternal. Lectures from Colombo to Almora. Full of patriotism, full of love for India, full of the solutions of the problems that we are facing today. The solutions were given in 1897. Just imagine. So many years earlier, he had already given the solution of the problem that we are facing today. What a visionary he was. What a leader. So, Mahatma Gandhi says, the love that I had from the country became 1,000-fold. Dr. Radhakrishnan says that when we used to write letters to our friends, we used to quote the letters of Swami Vivekananda in that. Very inspiring letters. We used to quote. Why? Because at that time, it was considered dangerous to share the letters of Swami Vivekananda. Particularly, the book was there in Bengali, Patravali, which is nothing but the translation of the book, the letters of Swami Vivekananda. And you must always remember, the freedom movement of India got a very good lift when Gandhiji returned from South Africa to India, and with the spirit of non-cooperation, with his movement of non-cooperation, he took the country ahead for the independence. But there were many other forces for independence. For example, Azad Hind Fauj by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. We cannot undermine the importance of Netaji Subhash Bose. It was all the factors combined that compelled the British government to leave India. It was not only, but of course, the major part was played by Gandhiji. But before that, the first revolution took place in 1857, but that was curbed. After that, the biggest revolution, the biggest resistance, or the biggest movement for independence movement, or biggest revolt against British government major revolt came in 1905 during the partition of Bengal. And this Bang Bhang Andolan, all the revolutionaries they had the books of Swami Vivekananda. So the British government, this intelligence department said, when we go to the revolutionaries' houses, sometimes we get the bombs, sometimes we do not get the bombs, but we get 2 books in every revolutionary's house. One is Bhagavad Gita and one is the book of Swami Vivekananda. So there was a proposal from the intelligence department to British India to proscribe, inhibit, to put a ban on the book of Swami Vivekananda. Because it is these books which are very dangerous, more dangerous than bombs. And all the revolutionaries are having these books. So you must put a ban on these books. So Dr. Radhakrishnan says, when you used to write letters to our friends, we used to quote the letters of Swami Vivekananda in our letters because we could not exchange the books of Swami Vivekananda. That was considered dangerous. That is what Dr. Radhakrishnan says. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, I do not know. When he came to our Ramakrishna Mission Delhi for a lecture during the centenary of Swami Vivekananda in 1963, he said, I do not know how many youngsters read the books of Swami Vivekananda nowadays. But in our times, hardly there was a young boy or girl who did not read the books of Swami Vivekananda and was not inspired. So it is at that time, before independence, it is Swami Vivekananda who prepared the background for the independence of India. By this sentence, by this mandate, love India, love India, love India. He said how to love India. What is true patriotism? What is really meant by loving India? He inspired the youngsters of that time. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Chakravarti Rajagopalacharya. Chakravarti Rajagopalacharya, had Swami Vivekananda been not there, we would not have got independence. He saved Hinduism, and he saved also Hinduism through his lecture in Chicago Parliament of World Religions, and he also saved India. But for Vivekananda, we did not have got independence. That is what Chakravarti Rajagopalacharya, the first Governor General, says. So Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Chakravarti Rajagopalacharya, Sri Aurobindo, Mahatma Gandhi, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, all these revolutionaries, all these patriots, they said that they started loving India by reading the books of Swami Vivekananda. This was the thing. And Rabindranath Tagore, a Nobel Prize winner, as you know, he wrote to another Nobel laureate, that is Roma Rolla, who got Nobel Prize in French. That also in literature. Rabindranath Tagore also got the Nobel Prize in literature. One laureate writing to another laureate. Rabindranath Tagore told Roma Rolla, if you want to know India, study Vivekananda. In him, everything is positive, nothing negative. And when he started studying the books of Swami Vivekananda, Roma Rolla, he was so much enamored that he wrote a biography on Swami Vivekananda. And about the words of Swami Vivekananda, he said, his words are great music, phrases in the style of Beethoven. I cannot touch these sayings of his, scattered as they are, through the pages, at a 30th distance, without receiving a thrill through my body, like an electric shock. Electric shock. If you read even if you read now the books of Swami Vivekananda, you get that electric shock. You can experiment for yourself. Read the books of Swami Vivekananda. Read the words, sentences of Swami Vivekananda. So electrifying, full of force, full of inspiration. So these words are very important. So let us go through the literature of Swami Vivekananda, where he says, they talk of patriotism, but I have got my own ideal of patriotism. 3 things are necessary for doing great work. First is the feeling. Feel from your heart. Do you feel for the ignorance that has come over the land as a black cloud? Do you feel that millions of descendants of sages and gods and goddesses have become next door neighbors to brutes? Do you feel for the ignorance that has come over the land as a black cloud? Does it make you restless? Does it make you sleepless? Has it entered into your blood, coursing through your veins, becoming consonant with your heartbeats? Has this one thought of ruin and misery overcome you so much so that you have forgotten all about your name, your fame, your wife, your children, your property, even your own body? Has it been done? This is the first step to become patriot, the very first step. But that is not enough. Have you found out any solution to come out of this mire? Have you found out a particular plan and program to get over the miseries of this nation and to make this nation forward? Have you got a practical solution? Even that is not enough. Third, will you stick to what you think, when you are convinced what is right, even if the whole world comes against you? with a sword in your hand, are you ready to face the whole world? Have you got that type of determination to work out your plans and programs? If you have got these three things, each one of you will perform miracles. And this is what has happened. Swami Vivekananda was one such patriot who had these three things. He first loved the country. Whole nights he used to weep for the miserable condition. Whole night he used to weep. And then even the day on which he became world famous, just remember, on 9th of September, he was sitting in a boxcar because to protect himself from the chilly winter in Chicago. On 9th September 1893, he was having no clothes, no food. And on 11th September, he became a hero of the whole world with his very short speech of 5 minutes, out of which 2 minutes went only for clapping. When he said, "Sisters and brothers of America," all the 7,000 people stood and they applauded for 2 full minutes, standing ovation they gave. And then only 3 minutes of speech, and he revolutionized the whole world. And India was now on the top of the world. And New York Herald, the newspaper, wrote that so many great people have come from all over the world, great leaders from great organizations, great religious conventions. They have all come and gathered here in Chicago, the Parliament of World Religions. But undoubtedly, the greatest figure in the world's Parliament of Religions undoubtedly is Swami Vivekananda. Just imagine, so many great stalwarts had come. Swami Vivekananda at that time only 30 years young, just 30 years young. The greatest figure undoubtedly in the world's Parliament of Religion is Swami Vivekananda. And then second sentence, after listening to him, we feel how foolish on our part to send missionaries from India. How foolish on our part to send missionaries to India. It is their religion is so great, rather we should invite missionaries from India. The whole table turned and India became on the top of the world. So far, they were thinking India is an illiterate country, poor country, slave country, full of superstition, no religion there, no culture. And here is a man guiding the whole world with his message of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, with his message of harmony of religions, with his message of universal brotherhood, with his message of Indian spiritual culture, and the whole world was amazed. This is India. We never knew this part of India. What a great country, such an ancient country, and such an ancient spiritual civilization. They came to know about it. India became on the top of the world. And so when he was so popular that he had to stay there for 3 more years, delivering lectures on Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, and all that. And then 1897, when he returned to India, he was given an ovation. He was given a reception as it is given to a world-conquering hero. And then wherever he went, he was very much welcomed and he was very much applauded. And in that reply, the lectures that he delivered are full of fire, very inspiring. First, he came to Colombo. You know that Colombo at that time in 1897 was in India, is a part of India. So first he landed in Ceylon, Colombo. And from Colombo, he went to Rameshwaram, on to Chennai, Madras at that time, on to Calcutta, and last Himalayas, Almora. So the name of the book is Lectures from Colombo to Almora, full of fire. And he awakened the whole country. He gave the message, Uttisthata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan, Nibodhata, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. And the whole country got awakened. Hundreds of years of slavery, the country was sleeping. And all the countrymen, what are you doing? You're sleeping. You have a very important role to play. You have to awaken the whole world and you are sleeping. Awake, awake, great ones. The world is burning with misery. Awake. And then he awakened the whole world. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. And he said, and the whole country got awakened. In 1897, he was not an astrologer. He was a visionary. Whatever he said came true. He said in 1897, India will become independent from the foreign rule within 50 years, but in under extraordinary circumstances without waging a usual war. Nobody ever imagined that India could become independent. Nobody ever imagined anything could be done without waging a war. It really happened. 1947, exactly after 50 years, India got independent. Another thing that he told, Professor John Henry Wright, who had given the letter of introduction, John Henry Wright was so much impressed. He was a professor from Harvard University. And when he came in contact with Swami Vivekananda, he said, Swami, I am amazed at your knowledge. You ought to go to the Parliament of World's Religion and represent your religion and speak there. Then Swami said, well, I came only for that purpose from India to America, but they are telling that you don't have a letter of recommendation. You do not have a letter of introduction. How can we include you as a speaker? Then Professor John Henry Wright says, Swami, to ask credentials from you is like asking the sun as to what right it is to shine on the earth. And then he himself wrote a letter of introduction. He wrote to John Henry Barrows, the chairman of Parliament of World Religion, here is a man who is more learned than all our professors put together. Here is a man who is more learned than all the professors put together. And then he was admitted as one of the speakers, the last to be admitted. On 10th September, he was admitted. 11th September, he exploded the bomb. Now, just imagine, 11th September, he became a world-conquering hero. On 11th night, what he's doing? He was not celebrating his victory. What he was doing? Whole night, he was weeping, weeping, weeping. And he was accommodated in an aristocratic family. And the landlady, she asked, Swami, have you made any mistake? Why are you not sleeping on the cot? You are lying on the floor. Anything wrong from our side to give you comfort? Swami said, no. In fact, it is so much comfortable that it pricks me. When I see the furniture, we have never seen such furniture in India. What an aristocratic way you are living here. And there in my country, people do not have clothes, do not have food, and they are so poor and they are suffering. So after seeing this luxury here, I was reminded of the poverty of my nation and was praying to Divine Mother. Whole night I was praying and weeping, oh Mother, when my country will become like this, when my country will have such amenities, when my countrymen will have some food and clothes, when my country will become. And so he was sleeping. He was weeping whole night. How many nights he has wept, we do not know. So the first condition, Swami Vivekananda said, weep for the visible condition, but that is not enough. Find out some plan and program to overcome this situation. And third, go ahead with this one. He did the same thing. He traveled all over the country before going to America. And last he reached was Kanyakumari. He reached Kanyakumari. Kanyakumari, the three oceans meet. And then he was a great swimmer, he was from Bengal. He knew very good swimming. In childhood, he used to do everything, boating, sweeping, wrestling, everything. He was a sportsman, a great sportsman. He was a great boatman. He knew boxing also. He knew boating also. He knew swimming also. So he saw a rock which was on the ocean. He had no money to give to a boatman. So he just jumped in the ocean. Imagine an ocean full of shark, very dangerous, but he did not mind. Just he swam across, went to the rock. For 3 nights and 3 days, he meditated deeply. Deeply he meditated on that rock at Kanyakumari. And he said, but he meditated not on any god or goddess. He meditated on Mother India. He meditated on the great ancient India, the glorious India, the golden India. It was called Sone Ki Chidiya at that time. Economically, it was so great, it was called Sone Ki Chidiya. And people used to come to fetch this gold. And they used to attack India for getting that gold. Culturally, spiritually, architecture, music, in every field, India was great. Then the India that he had seen with his own eyes, traveling all over the country for 7 years, he had traveled on foot all the places. What poverty, what miserable condition. He meditated on that also. And how to come out of it. What is the solution? That also he meditated. What about glorious future India that will come out of it? That also he meditated. So he meditated, he came out with a solution. Yes, we can come out of this solution. Was religion at fault? No. Then what was at fault? When we started, as long as we were practicing our Vedanta in everyday life, India was on the top of the world. When we stopped applying these principles of Vedanta in our daily life, that time the slavery came. So now we have to do again start practicing Vedanta. But before Vedanta has to be taught to the poor people, we have to give them food. So what is the solution? He said, I'll cross the ocean, go to the other countries, bring science and technology, bring money from there, feed the people there. First, let us have Rajas, and then we will have Sattva. Now we are in Tamas, we will have Rajas, we will have science and technology. So he said, what we want in our country is Vedanta coupled with modern science. That will bring the good to the country. And so that's why he went there, brought science and technology. In fact, while he was traveling from Japan to Chicago, in the ship, he met Jamsetji Tata, and he told Jamsetji Tata also to start Indian Institute of Science. And that is why Jamsetji Tata, when he was starting Indian Institute of Science, he wrote a letter to Swami Vivekananda that I know not of a person who can be the general of such a campaign in favor of this Indian Institute of Science. And Swami Vivekananda put Sister Nivedita on the job, and later on, though the British government was very much against it, and still it happened, the Indian Institute of Science started, and another disciple of Swami Vivekananda, Mysore Maharaja, gave about 300 acres of land in Bangalore, and now Indian Institute of Science, you know how it is progressing. But it was Swami Vivekananda who put that idea. When Dr. Kalam came, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam inaugurated Vivekananda Institute of Value Education Culture at Porbandar on 12 January 2006. At that time, during his speech, he said, I was very much impressed by Swami Vivekananda when I came to know how he inspired Jamsetji Tata to start Indian Institute of Science. A monk, a saint, thinking so much of science and technology. What a modern saint. At that time, he is inspiring Jamsetji Tata not to import matchboxes, not to import the things, but to start industries, to start Indian Institute of Science, to start laboratories, to start research institute. What a visionary he is. So Swami Vivekananda brought out the plans and programs. He said, we will spread the ideas of practical Vedanta, but first we will have science and technology and bring about the economic development, and then we will have spiritual development, and then the country will go. And he went for that. So he was a true patriot. Now, so patriotism, three things. Number one, feeling for the people, feeling for the countrymen. Secondly, trying to find out some solution, to bring some solace, to bring some sort of help to the people. And third, to pursue our plans and programs in spite of the resistance. These are the three steps Swami Vivekananda has told in order to become a true patriot. So he has given a clarion call, love India. For that, it requires sacrifice. Now in the context of the NCC cadets, what I will say that at present you are students, what I would advise at present is you become better students, you become better NCC cadet by discipline that is being installed into you. Discipline is very necessary, and along with that, dedication. Dedicate yourself to the service of the nation, and for which you should also dedicate yourself to the studies, dedicate yourself to the sports and games, dedicate yourself to making your body strong. So two things you have to do: study properly with full concentration, with full dedication, number one. Number two, develop your total personality. So Swami Vivekananda says, national development cannot take place without character development. And character development, he says, total personality development. Physical development of the personality, mental development of the personality, intellectual development of the personality, moral development of the personality, and spiritual development of the personality. And this can happen only if we have five things: self-confidence, self-reliance, self-knowledge, self-control, and self-sacrifice. If you have five things, the 5 ideas that are given by Swami Vivekananda. In the books of Swami Vivekananda, we will get details of how to bring out these 5 inside of us. And taking all these 5, but most important thing, first of all, physical development of the personality. So that is why Swami Vivekananda says you will be nearer to heaven through football rather than by the study of Gita. The one student came into me and said, Swamiji, I have now left reading Gita. Why? He said, Swamiji told, Vivekananda is told, you will be nearer to heaven through football rather than by the study of Gita. So I have given up Gita. I said, my dear boy, you read the whole sentence. Swami Vivekananda said, you will be nearer to heaven through football rather than by the study of Gita, because by playing football, you will develop your muscles, your biceps, and you will become strong. And when you become strong, you will be able to understand the message of Sri Krishna better with that mental strength and physical strength. So strength is necessary. Physical strength, mental strength, intellectual strength, moral strength, all types of strength we want. Strength, strength, strength. His only message was be strong, be strong, be strong. That is the only message. If you read the books of Swami Vivekananda, the only message you get is be strong. If anybody commits any mistake, it is only because he or she is not strong. If you are morally strong, you will never do any, you will never take any bribe. If you are intellectually strong, you will never copy in the examination. If you are physically strong, you will never be afraid of anything. If you are mentally strong, you will never be afraid of any problems in the world. You can struggle with full vigor and full strength and full courage. So be courageous, be strong, be courageous. Don't be afraid of any problems. I will end with a beautiful incident which happened in the life of Swami Vivekananda, which very much we require. Now, you know, we are fighting with the Corona Rakshasa, Corona demon. So this is nothing. Demons, other demons, this will go now. Vaccination has come. Again some other demon will come. We have not to be afraid. So there are problems. There are, of course, there are melodies, but there are remedies also. We'll bring out the remedy. When Swami Vivekananda was traveling all over the world, all over the country before going to America, when he went to Varanasi, he went to Durga temple, and after darshan of Durga Devi, he was coming out, and suddenly few monkeys, very large size monkeys, they started chasing Swami Vivekananda. You know those monkeys, Hanuman we call, with black faces, large size. They started chasing Swami Vivekananda. So Swami Vivekananda got afraid. So he started running. And Swami Vivekananda was running, and these monkeys were running after him. Now, it so happened on one side there was a pond, another side there was a big wall. So Swami Vivekananda had nothing, nowhere to go, just go in front and front. But now he became exhausted, what to do? And suddenly he found an old monk was shouting, "Hey, daro mat, mandir ka samna karo. Don't be afraid, face the brutes." And as soon as he heard this, he stood up. And then he looked backside, and he had a stick. He did like that. And all the monkeys fled away. Later on, in America, he narrated this incident. And then he told, this is that day I learned one of the greatest lessons of my life. That day, I learned one of the greatest lessons of my life. What is the lesson? Face the brutes. Face the difficulties squarely. If you are afraid, difficulties will follow you. The brutes will follow you. The monkeys will follow you. When you face the brutes squarely with courage, monkeys will fly away. The brutes will fly away. The difficulties will fly away. So in our life also it happens. Many times we get struggles. So many youngsters, you know, committing suicide, so foolish on their part. My God, for small problems, they are committing suicide. Giving up this such a valuable human life. Out of 84 lakhs of species, only one species, that is human species, can have infinite happiness, infinite peace, infinite bliss, infinite peace. No other species can have an access to self-knowledge, self-realization, to infinite happiness, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, Satchit Ananda. Only human beings have got that special prerogative. Or to speak in the modern language, only human beings can have SQ. This is what the modern science says. Dana Zohar, she is a professor in Oxford University. She says in her book, SQ, spiritual intelligence, the ultimate intelligence. There she says, neurologically, physiologically, biologically, psychologically, from every point of view, there is a concluding evidence. There is something called SQ, which is the basis of both IQ and EQ. What is IQ? IQ will tell you how to play the game of life. What is EQ? EQ will tell you how to play the game of life under changed circumstances with changed strategies. And what is SQ? SQ will tell you whether to play the game of life at all or not. What is the purpose of life? What is the aim of life? Why are we on this earth? What do we want to achieve? So at the time of death, we don't have regrets. जब तू आया जगत में, जग हंसे तू रोए, ऐसी करनी कर चलो, मरते समय तुम हंसो, जग रोए. That is the purpose of life. What do you want to achieve with this life? This is called SQ, knowing the purpose of life, knowing the meaning of life. And Dana Zohar says, scientifically it has been discovered that IQ is available with all the species, including the computers. EQ is available only with a few species, but SQ is available only with the human species. How foolish on the part of the human beings to commit suicide, to die, give up this human body, which is got the human body only has got a prerogative of SQ, and to give up this body is foolishness to the part n, where n is equal to infinity. What a wonder! What a foolishness. No. Face the brutes, face the difficulties in life squarely, with courage. That is the message of Swami Vivekananda. Be courageous, be brave, be bold. I never have man a cow. I never heard a cow tell a lie, but it is always a cow and never a man. A man commits mistakes and comes out of it. Failures, they are the beauty of life. What would you life without that? Failures will come. Failures are the stepping stones to success. Don't be afraid. Have full confidence. Go ahead. March ahead. March ahead. March ahead. Awake, awake, awake. Go forward. Go forward. Go forward. March forward. March forward. You know, NCC, march forward. Swami Vivekananda also used to like this word. March forward. Never look back. Face the difficulties bravely, and the difficulties will fly away. So the message of Swami Vivekananda essentially is the message of strength, message of boldness, message of fearlessness. He said, if you find one word coming like a bomb from the Upanishads, it is the one word, Abhi, Abhi, Abhi. Be fearless, be fearless, be fearless. Don't be afraid. What is Corona? Any other Rakshasa, any other demon will come, we'll face it. We'll bring out a vaccine. If another comes, we'll bring out a vaccine. We'll fight. We'll fight. We'll try to be more healthy. We'll try to have more of immunity. We are not going to be cowed down. We are not going to accept any defeat. No defeat. Defeat, Swami Vivekananda says, is a crown for a brave soldier. But why should I accept defeat without fighting? I'll go on fighting till the end. That is the spirit with which Swami Vivekananda speaks. Go forward, go forward. So that is the message. I'm very happy to have talked to you already. I didn't know so much time is spent. I wanted to spend more time in question answer. Anyway, I do not know. If there is time, we will go for question answer. But I just really thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity of sharing my ideas with the NCC cadets in particular and the students in general. And I'm very much sure if we take up this idea of Swami Vivekananda, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Let us go forward. Let us go forward without fearing for anything. The problems will come. We'll solve the problems. We'll face the problems squarely, and we'll go ahead. We'll face the brutes squarely, and we'll go ahead in our life. And the message that is given by Swami Vivekananda for all the problems of our nation can be solved with only one mantra: love India. Love India. Love India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such inspirational words and beautiful life lessons. Now I request our GS, Ms. Divya Vora, to moderate question answer section.
Thank you, Sergeant Karuna Vasu. Firstly, I would like to thank Swamiji for such beautiful words and inspiring events from Swami Vivekananda's life. So, respected Swamiji, with your permission, Now I would like to raise some questions by our active, curious, and youthful audience. Am I audible, Swamiji?
Yes, but there is some disturbance also. I am able to listen, but there is some disturbance.
Okay, sir. So, the first question is by Sergeant Karuna Vasu. She is asking, how can we promote discipline in youth?
Yeah, very good. Very good question. Discipline in the beginning has to be from outside. Ultimately, what is successful is self-discipline. Self-discipline is more important than discipline. Now, the cadets will have to be motivated that if you keep discipline, if you are self-disciplined, there will be no need of discipline. So why not go for self-discipline? Self-discipline is better than discipline. Discipline is for those who are not self-disciplined. So I would rather request the cadets to go for self-discipline so that afterwards you don't have to be disciplined. Okay? Self-discipline is the answer for discipline.
Yeah.
So this is the question by Sergeant Ratnesh Singh. He is asking that in the field of research and in other fields also, we Indians are getting very forward now. But then too, in some points, we are seeing that the foreigners are not treating it with that respect. So what is the lacking part in the youth? What is that lacking part in the Indian youth?
Well, I think what Swami Vivekananda had at that time told at that time, the same thing we have to remember. That is having self-confidence. Self-confidence is the most important thing. You must have confidence on yourself. Then others will have confidence on you. How can others have confidence on you if you are not having confidence about yourself? First of all, you must have self-confidence. So Swami Vivekananda said, faith, 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 faith in ourselves. And he said, Swami Vivekananda said, the old religion said he is an atheist who does not believe in God. But the new religion said he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. So first believe in yourself and then believe in God. Not only that, he said, if you've got faith in 330 millions of gods and goddesses of our country, and in all the other gods and goddesses that you recently imported from other countries, but if you do not have faith in yourself, you are an atheist. So first have faith in yourself, faith in your capacity, faith in your decisions, faith in your capability, and then others will have faith in you. Develop self-confidence, and that will come from self-reliance and self-knowledge. Self-knowledge means knowing about your own capability, knowing about your own abilities.
Okay, sir. So there is one more question. It is also by Sergeant Karuna Vasu. She is requesting you to suggest some good books by Swami Vivekananda, sir.
Oh, very good. So first, as I told you, small book is there. He is called to the nation. Very small book. He is called to the nation. It is a collection of the inspiring words of Swami Vivekananda, culled from the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. He is called to the nation. Small book. Then second is Thoughts of Power. Very powerful books. As whatever I was telling you, have faith in yourself. All these are the quotations from that book. Thoughts of Power. Small book like an atom bomb. Atom bomb is very small but very powerful. So Thoughts of Power. Very small book, very powerful. Then the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, 9 volumes. If you cannot study all the 9 volumes, at least for the students, I will tell 2 books. One, Letters of Swami Vivekananda, and second is My India, the India Eternal. My India, the India Eternal. This is a beautiful book, My India, the India Eternal. It is again collection of the lectures delivered by Swami Vivekananda from Colombo to Almora, full of patriotism, full of love for the nation, and also full of power.
Okay, Swamiji. Now I would like to ask one question. This is a very famous quote by Swami Vivekananda, that service to mankind is service to God. So what kind of work we as a youth should do to fulfill his motto?
Wonderful. Very nice question. So Swami Vivekananda was a revolutionary saint who said the old, so far you had heard the mantras, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. I am giving some additional mantras which are more important in the present age. What are these mantras? Daridra Devo Bhava, Rogi Devo Bhava. Worship the God who is present in sick people. Worship the God who is in the poor people. Worship the God who is in suffering people. Because Vedanta says inside every human being there is Atman. There is a center of consciousness. So inside a poor person also there is a center of consciousness. Inside a sick person also there is a center of consciousness. So Swami Vivekananda says, how foolish on your part to dig well by the side of the Ganges. Here is a big river going on and you are trying to dig a well by the side of the Ganges. You are trying to worship God who is in the temple. There you have to do Pran Pratishtha. Here in the human being there is already Pran Pratishtha. He is a living being. So why are you not serving God in human beings? First, serve God in human beings. Of course, going to temple, churches, mosques is not bad, because that also gives you silence. That gives you peace of mind. That gives you also power, spiritual power. It's okay. But most important duty for us now is to worship the God who is present in people, in poor people, in the afflicted people, in the miserable people. If we do worship like that, what happens? Double benefit, double फायदा होता है. अच्छा, सबको फायदा चाहिए ना, डबल फायदा. जिसकी सेवा करोगे उसको भी फायदा, और जो सेवा करेगा उसको क्या मिलेगा? अनंत सुख, अनंत ज्ञान, अनंत आनंद, डबल फायदा. जिसको सेवा किया उसको तो फायदा हुआ, उसको क्या मिला? रोटी मिला. जिसने सेवा किया उसको क्या मिला? भगवान मिल गया. अनंत सुख, अनंत ज्ञान, अनंत आनंद, डबल फायदे की बात स्वामी विवेकानंद बताते हैं. दैट इज वर्शिप ऑफ गॉड इन मैन. This is the great thing, and that youth can now what type of service youth can do? When you are in NCC, already you are doing for the service of the nation. In fact, you are preparing yourself for going to the army if necessary. In fact, in our times, NCC was compulsory because there was a war which was going on with China. So at that time, it was compulsory NCC, and we were told anytime you will have to go to the army also. So NCC already you are doing service to the nation by following the discipline of NCC, and by being the cadet of NCC, or doing nation. But apart from that, whatever time is left out, and whatever left out after the study during vacation, you can go to the villages, you can teach the illiterate children, you can plant the trees, you can start the study circles and try to infiltrate the ideas of character building and national building among your friends. All these things can happen. There are n number of ways of serving the nation and serving the society and serving the people.
Thank you, Swamiji. Now I would like to ask if anybody wants to share some questions. So I think we have answered all the questions. So now I would